Welcome to another edition of The End Zone along with Cameron Johnson. I am Colby Daniels. What a week. Some would argue, Cameron, we are in the middle of the best 4-day stretch in the sporting calendar, which is the first and second rounds of the NCAA tournament. Obviously, it is both exciting and frustrating for everybody that fills out brackets. You kind of get your hopes up and you are living and dying with the outcome of every game. But regardless of whether it is, in fact, the best 4 days, I don't think anybody would disagree. It is right up there at the top of, I think, the enjoyment level of any sporting fan and their, I think, interest level in sports in general.
I've been doing some real thinking these past few days leading up to the tournament, and I've decided it is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
It's like a top 2 sporting event for me, if not number 1. And I just think
what would be the other?
So I go back and forth with the World Cup, and here's why.
Okay.
I know that's kind of maybe an odd one to throw in there, but March Madness, I think any other tournament, especially the college level, you have your favorites. The favorites normally win.
Sure.
It's a rarity, but in March Madness, you have some team that walks in you've never heard of, and all of a sudden they're taking out the top team. Like, it's just, you can't predict it, and I think that's hence the madness. But so it's kind of up there with the World Cup too, because sometimes you have that. But I'm gonna say it might be my top sporting event.
Yeah, the World Cup is so spread out though.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have this condensed stretch of all these games taking place one after another. So it's kind of apples to oranges a little bit, but
Sure.
I get where you're coming from. There's just nothing really like the NCAA tournament.
No.
And I think the overall interest level, there was probably a time where I think college football bowl season was similar to a degree. And then we got to the point where bowls were kind of deemed irrelevant because of the college football playoff. But everybody fills out a bracket, right? Every human being I know that is old enough to put pen to paper fills out a bracket of some sort. There's family, bracket pools, office bracket pools. Everybody's, signing up for the $1 billion prizes online, if you have a perfect bracket. But it's just such a fun time of year, and it's something everybody can kind of jump on.
And the fun thing, too, is whenever I ask the people in my life, I'm like, are you making a bracket? And they're like, I just don't know much about college basketball. It's like, you'll probably win.
That's the point, yeah.
You'll probably
Guaranteed
win.
to
You can just cover your eyes and pick, and there's a good chance you'll do well.
I would say since I've been an adult, I've probably won, 6 or 7 different pool tournament bracket challenge type things, and I hadn't won one in 15 years. Last year was probably the least amount of college basketball I had watched in that stretch, and I won after a 15-year drought. So there you go. I mean, it's sometimes when you watch it all the time, you start overthinking and you know too much about some of these teams. But it's a ton of fun, and obviously, if anybody's ever had the opportunity to go to a regional and experience what that's like, that is off the charts fantastic. I'm somewhat torn about being there in person and being in my living room with 4 different screens set up so I can watch every minute of action. But hosting basketball in Oklahoma City at the Paycom Center, I mean, the tournament action this week was wild. And I got to give a massive shout out to the Nebraska fan base. I knew there were going to be a ton of Husker fans when I went to the first shoot around on Wednesday, and everybody was going through their walk-arounds and all that good stuff. There were Nebraska fans everywhere downtown, and they showed up big time for Nebraska's first tourney win ever. The Paycom Center is called Loud City, and Nebraska fans, I think, made it Loud City. So much so that in Fred Hoiberg's opening statement in his post-game press conference after their big win, he talked about it.
That was as loud and vocal of a neutral site game as I have ever played in, and it's amazing. When we went out for the anthem, we had a little monitor in the coach's room, kind of see it filling in. But when I went out for the anthem, I got goosebumps, and I got a little emotional just seeing how the fans showed up for us, and they were a huge factor in that thing. When we went on a run, it was deafening in there, and just really thankful that we could share this moment with our unbelievable fans, and I promise you we're going to keep fighting and keep swinging.
I've been to hundreds of Thunder regular season games in that arena, and I would say that rivals any Thunder regular season game. Now, the Thunder playoff games are a whole different animal, but I mean, there are probably only a handful of Thunder regular season games that I can recall off the top of my head being louder than the Nebraska fan base was yesterday. So it was a really cool moment. And Price Sanfort, the Nebraska star, scores 23 points yesterday. His brother Peyton, who plays for the Thunder, scored his first 3 points in his NBA career the night before, flew in to see his brother play, which was such a cool moment. And he talked about it after the game as well.
He's been lying to me this whole week. He told me he wasn't able to make it, so I'm telling everybody that. I'm telling the media that, and then he shows up, and I see him in the stands 10 minutes before the game. And it's like
Didn't he hit a 3 last night?
he did his first NBA points last night,
big
and
time.
showed up for this game. But it was unreal seeing him up there, and the support we got. I got from my family, but just the whole crowd in general. That might have been the best environment I've ever played in, home, neutral, away. Like it was truly unbelievable. Our fan base is just incredible, and we're so blessed to play in front of these fans.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I mean, the big brother probably knew what he was doing there a little bit. He's
Right.
like, no, I'm not coming. No
I'm
pressure.
on the road,
Yeah.
Getting my first NBA action. Can't make it.
Yeah, no, I think that's also why March Madness is among my favorites, because there's so many fun storylines that take
For sure.
place. It's like,
For sure.
yeah, maybe a team, upset the number 1 seed and is going to get knocked out in the next round, but that one game is what you remember for
Yeah.
years to come. And
Yeah.
so for Nebraska to finally get its first win and to have that kind of family moment, that's what makes
Yeah.
it special.
Cool storylines. They were the last Power 4 conference team that was winless in the NCAA tournament. They finally get their first win, and the fan base was awesome. That story is awesome. It was a really cool moment for Husker Nation at the Paycom Center in Oklahoma City. All right, we've got to take a timeout. We'll get to our final 4 picks a little bit later in the show, but up next, the Thunder keep rolling. 10-game win streak right now. We'll talk about Thunder basketball next. Welcome back to the show. Along with Cameron Johnson, I'm Colby Daniels. We've got to talk some NBA basketball. As we mentioned in the previous segment, Thunder rookie Peyton Sanfort, after their big win against Brooklyn, made his first three-pointer, came back to watch his brother in the NCAA tournament. Now he's got to fly back to the team because they're getting ready to play the Washington Wizards Saturday afternoon. Maybe Shea can go for 83 in that matchup Saturday, as bad as the Washington defense is. But the Thunder keep rolling. I mean, since the All-Star break, they are on a pretty impressive run. They've had a couple of blowouts, but they have been in a lot of these gritty, tough playoff-type games since the All-Star break, and they've done nothing but find ways to win. 13-1 since the break, 10-game win streak, and they still lead the Spurs by 3 games in the West.
I've said this a lot, I feel like, in the last couple of weeks, couple of months now. How I feel about the Thunder today versus how I felt about them before the All-Star break. I was confident that they were going to make a deep playoff run, possibly get back to the finals, but now they've upped their game. They're getting a lot of playoff-like games, and they're delivering in them, and I feel like this is a team in my mind right now that will be in the finals. Obviously, as we see right now with March Madness, anything can happen in the playoffs, but I just feel overall a lot more confident than I did a couple months ago.
We talked about it back in January and the beginning of February. Thunder fans were overreacting a little bit because of what was going on, and part of that was just the injuries, but the other thing we talked about, and I've had every NBA player I've ever talked to about this has said the same thing. January and February are the dog days of the league. Everybody is dragging. They're all ready for the All-Star break. They've got one foot out the door. They're kind of ready for that reset so that they can start playing this level of basketball following the All-Star break. And every single year, I feel like I say this in January and February, no matter what's happening, good or bad, don't overreact to what's happening right now. Let's see what happens after the All-Star break, and that's when I think you can start really making your opinions about what a team in general might be for the playoffs. But they continue to do this without J-Dub, who I think probably at some point in April is going to give it a go, and we'll see what happens with his hamstring. But they are so deep and continue to play such good team basketball. If you're a Thunder fan, you got to love where they are.
Absolutely, and I think to your point, you have them come off a championship run, and then they start the way they did, and it's like the expectations are here, and it's like I get where it comes from. So then, as soon as you slip up a little bit, it's like, ooh, like this is not
They didn't win every game by 20. What's wrong with the Thunder?
Right, but I'm just really impressed with what we're seeing, especially like you said, the depth, how they play in these absences due to injury. It's like, it feels like every other night it's like, who's out this time? And it's like, it's just become normal. But it's gotten to the point where you don't stress when you see that injury report come out. Maybe there is concern, but it's like, hey, Oklahoma City still has a chance.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Only 12 games left in the regular
Yep.
season. They have 3 games left on this road trip at Washington, at Philly, at Boston. Will the win streak be alive when they return to the Paycom Center?
What was the between
At
game
Washington,
again?
at Philly,
Philly.
at Boston.
I think there's a chance. If anything, they come back with 1 loss,
Yeah.
but I don't think anything more than that. I think they're on a roll.
The 5th game of a 5-game road trip at Boston is the one
Yeah.
that I would say is probably an L, and then they'll regroup once they get
Yeah.
back to the Paycom Center. But that's a tough ask to win all 5 games in a
Sure.
5-game Eastern Conference road trip. The last of those being what odds-wise is the favorite to win the Eastern Conference,
Yeah.
and that was a great game in Oklahoma City just a couple weeks ago. We had sad news in the state of Oklahoma as Oklahoma legend, I believe from Ryan, Oklahoma, Chuck Norris has passed away at the age of 86. I grew up watching Chuck Norris action movies. I mean, to me, larger than life personality. I know like the younger generation knows him more for like the social media
Yep.
memes and some people like the scene in Dodgeball that was so iconic. But in honor of Chuck Norris, we put together some of our favorite Chuck Norris memes, and these are all fantastic. At night, the boogeyman checks under his bed for Chuck Norris.
When you were saying that you knew him for his movies before you even said anything, I was going to say I know him for the memes. I grew
Yeah,
up with the
the
memes,
memes
and
are
they're
so
just,
great.
They're so funny.
When Chuck Norris steps on a Lego, the Lego screams.
I mean, yeah.
Once a year, the flu gets a Chuck Norris shot.
These are fantastic.
So iconic. Also, I love the shirt, America, Chuck Yeah.
Chuck Yeah.
Chuck Norris built the hospital he
Yep,
was born in.
I remember that one. That's a good one.
And finally, and these are the television safe memes, because there are some that are pretty good, but we
Sure.
can't really show them. Chuck Norris can cut through a hot knife with butter.
I think if you told me that, like, it would take my brain a second to process
unravel-
that, and then I'd be like,
unravel
oh,
the
wait.
statement, yeah.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
not seen that one before. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, again, just search Chuck Norris memes, and you can find hundreds, if not thousands, of them that will give you a giggle. I mean, it's fantastic. Again, larger than life personality, and I think his online presence in pop culture over the last decade has been sensational.
Yeah.
All right, we've got to take a timeout. NCAA tournament Final Four picks and smash or punt next here on the End Zone. All right, welcome back to the show. I'm Colby Daniels. That is Cameron Johnson. Before we get to Smash or Punt, we've got to give you our Final Four predictions. I do not have a ton of confidence in my picks this year. I won our office pool last year. I felt pretty good about my picks last year. This year, zero confidence. We'll see
Okay.
what happens, but what did you go with for the Final Four?
So let me preface real fast. I always make 3 brackets. I have,
Okay.
just an optimistic bracket, which is what I want to happen. Then
Okay.
I have a gut bracket where I just go through whatever, and then I have one that I think through. And ironically, the one I think through is doing terribly. So I'm going with
that's
my
usually
top
how it goes,
one.
yeah.
I'm just going to say I've got Arkansas winning it all because
Okay.
why not? Final Four, yeah, Duke, Houston, and Michigan also sneaking in there. Iowa State, I went back and forth on getting in over Michigan, but yeah, this
There you
is
go.
the year. This is the year for John Calipari. Didn't get eliminated in the first round, which
Yeah.
means they're going all the way.
So before the bracket was revealed, in my mind, I was kind of thinking of who are the teams that I would pick to make a deep run and possibly be in the Final Four. And Arkansas was one of the teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Unfortunately, they fell in the
Arizona,
same
yeah.
region as one of the other teams that I really liked.
Yeah.
So I couldn't do it. But I went UConn and Florida on one side of the bracket. I went Arizona and Michigan on the other side of the bracket. That's what, 3 number ones and a
Yep.
number 2. We had all number 1s last
Yep.
year. I'll be curious to see what that looks like, but I feel like from the top teams down, there's such
Yeah.
a big gap. And then I had to go Arizona as the national champion. I just think they're the best team in college basketball. Unfortunately for your Razorbacks,
I know.
they fell in that region. But
that's
that,
more what I did in my logical bracket.
that would be that'll be a fun matchup if they
Yes,
do in fact
yes,
meet in
yeah.
the Sweet 16. So there you go. There's our NCAA tournament picks, and I'm sure we'll be laughing at ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Over the next couple of weeks. All right, let's get to Smash or Punt. There is an epidemic happening in college basketball that is currently driving me insane. So I noticed this probably 20 times yesterday watching college basketball. When the ball goes out of bounds, whether it's blatantly off the other team or not, every player around the play is doing the replay it. It's our ball. You made the wrong call. Replay it. It drives me, and it clearly is not your ball.
Right.
But everybody is
It's
asking
just-
for the replay. So, smash or punt, signaling the replay review constantly is a punishable crime.
Punishable?
Punishable. Give them a technical or something.
Okay. I don't know that I would go as far as punishable, but I hate it.
I hate it.
I hate that too. So just for the sake, I'm going to say smash.
Okay, smash. Smash all the way. I hate it. I mean, look, maybe it's like fouls. If you get 2 or 3 of these, like we're going to tee you up because it's just, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
Like it is just a growing epidemic that everybody is just like, nope, when it clearly is the right call.
All right,
and you're
let's
just,
move on.
yeah. Come on, guys,
No
come on. All right, so we agree on that one. All right. Tournament regionals and or Final Four should have permanent locations.
I think ooh. You mean just like every year?
Every year, regionals are in different, like the same spots around the country, and the Final Four is in the same spot. Kind of like Omaha with the College World Series.
I think the Final Four, yes. Regionals, I don't know. I think I'm going to say punt on that one. I like different cities getting to get in on the action.
We are 2 for 2.
Okay.
It's a punt for me on the tourney regionals. I like the fact that they move around, and I think people might like kind of take it for granted if it was in your city every single year. The Final Four, though, is such a destination. I think it would be cool if it was in a permanent location. So smash on the Final Four. But let's move those regionals around and let everybody have a little taste of the madness, so to speak. Porter Moser's coming back to Oklahoma next season. They did not make the tournament. They've only been there one time in his 5 years. A lot of OU fans were upset that they were bringing him back. OU men's basketball fans should adjust their expectations. Smash or punt?
I think I'm going to say smash on that. They ended on a very promising note, so that kind of counteracts, like, or kind of makes up for the poor season before that. I think, though, this might be just like a 1-year kind of deal and just adjust. Yeah.
I do think that OU has probably underperformed a little bit since Porter's been there. I don't know that you're going to just do better than Porter Moser because I do think he's a good coach, but I think there's this expectation that OU needs to perform like a top 25 basketball program in the country without top 25 basketball resources and or fan support. So from that standpoint, for me, it's like absolutely you have to change your expectations. What is the correct expectation? Like NCAA tournament every other year, 2 out of 3 years? Because it's certainly not every year.
I would lean more toward the 2 out of 3.
Okay.
I think at least the tournament.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 68 teams get in, and it may be growing. So
right.
We'll see. All right, that is a smash for both of us. Good luck with your tournament brackets, everyone. I know it's maddening, but it's a lot of fun as well. All right, we got to wrap things up with the closing argument next, right here on the End Zone. All right, it is time for the closing argument with Noble McIntyre, attorney at law, as we wrap up the show today. So this is probably something that comes up in my life at least once a week, talking about sports on a daily basis. I know it's come up multiple times with the Thunder this season. What is a rivalry in sports, right? You have 2 teams that go head-to-head, or you have individuals that maybe go head-to-head in individual sports. It seems like everybody has different criteria or leans on one specific thing for what ultimately determines a rivalry. So for you, what elements must be present for something or someone's to be considered rivals?
Years and years of hate.
Okay.
Of hate. I mean, if it does not ruin your week if your opponent beats you, if you don't tell your wife and kids who you plan to go to dinner with that night, but after your team lost that I'm not going to go with you now, if it doesn't ruin your day that bad, it's not a true rivalry. Look, I love Oklahoma Baptist University. I went there, alma mater. I love OU. That's not a rivalry because they don't match up.
Right.
But Oklahoma and Oklahoma State, I mean, I don't like orange on OSU. I don't like it on Texas. I barely want to go deer hunting in that color. I hate that color. So it takes a lot of hate over a long period of time.
Okay, fair enough. I think that's absolutely warranted, and I think in the genuine term of the word, that is the number one criteria. I also think you can have rivalries that are short-term within one season, and maybe a roster turnover ultimately takes that away. If you have players from different teams that don't like each other, that player gets traded to another team, maybe that ends that specific rivalry, but I get the sense like the Thunder and the Spurs don't like each other. I feel like that is a rivalry right now, but it's not long-term hatred.
Yeah, I mean, I like the long term. Look, nobody has to tell Texas Longhorn fans and Oklahoma Sooner fans they don't like each other. We know that. And so when the media has to tell you it's a rivalry, I don't really think it is.
Yeah.
I think long term, as they continue to play, as the Thunder and the Spurs continue to play, it will become that more and more.
Yeah.
But I'm more of it's got to be a long-term history and a lot of hate, and it's got to ruin your stinking day.
College rivalries are much easier to identify than professional rivalries, I think, for sure. All right, that is this week's closing argument. For Noble McIntyre, I'm Colby Daniels. We'll see you next week.